All right, so talk about the Office 365 CLI new command called Office 365 SPFx Project Externalize. Before we begin, hi everyone, I'm Vincent Biret. Nice to meet you. I'm an Office Dev MVP, and I work at To2Lead, a Canadian-based consulting company, as an Azure and Office 365 developer. If you want to reach out to me, here's my Twitter and GitHub handle, my blog, and yeah, you can always contact me. I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. With that, Patrick already pointed to a problem, an existing problem. SharePoint pages, they already load a lot of things, but are the out-of-the-box web part, the UI, the data, and so on and so forth, right? And each additional SPFx component, whether it's a web part or an extension or anything else, adds up to that to the page size and to the page load time, and degrades performances and experience for the users, right? And optimizing for performance is time consuming, and it requires a lot of knowledge, and we'll see what techniques we have. So if we look at a few examples, that's the load time and the size and the numbers of requests for vanilla SharePoint communication page. It does 195 HTTP requests, transfers more than 60 megabytes of resources, which works well if you're on a desktop, you have a fast connection, a good browser. But as soon as you have either a bad browser or you are on a limited connection like me right now at a conference center, it might not be so great, right? And then if you start adding a few extensions and web parts and so on and so forth, and if you're not careful about what you're doing, well, the number of requests and the size of a page can go up quite quickly. So you want to avoid that in order to provide good performances and good experience for the end users. What solutions do you have? Well, you have the one that Patrick just shown, the selective import, meaning that you'll be really careful at the import time to import only what you need. And this is great when this is actually probably the best solution if you're on a net new project and you don't need to refactor tons and tons of code. So the problem with that is developers need to be super well disciplined, and they need to know about that and do it across the solution, or otherwise you need to do big refactoring existing solutions. The other pattern we see, and which works quite well, is let's say you have a couple of different web parts. They all depend on the PNP controls, and in order to save space and loading time and so on and so forth, well, you create separate chunks, separate modules that you will load asynchronously. So this is a great technique as well. It involves refactoring, lots of testing to make sure it loads properly at the right sequence at the right time, and a pretty high technical knowledge. You can, of course, use library components if you want with those. Lastly, you have a third option, which is called externals. So Webpack and the SharePoint framework have this notion of, hey, this is a dependency. I don't want it as part of my bundle. I will load it from a third-party CDN instead. So don't include it in my bundle and load the URL I'm going to provide you from the CDN instead during the runtime, so everything is on the page. And that's a great way to decrease the size of your bundle and make sure you hit good performances and so on and so forth. And it does not require any refactoring or any big discipline for the developers or any kind of advanced technical knowledge. So this is, again, one of the solutions to do that, and I'll show how you can improve that experience. So let's jump into the demo. Here, you'll see that I have a straight communication site, but I do also have here at the top, custom navigation, because everyone does that lately. I also have on the footer a custom footer bar with just the logo of a company and learn more, and a few other components, right? This is great, but if we look at the performances, we'll see that in the network traffic, which I'm already on, if we reload that, everything is being loaded from SharePoint. We don't have anything being loaded from the CDN, and it can actually take quite some time because, again, I'm on a conference Wi-Fi at the moment, right? If we look at, for example, the header component, here we'll see that if I find the right one. It's pretty heavy, right? For the header, we just have a few links. Well, they look nice. We have a proper CSS classes and the proper icons, and we even have a search bar here available. But still, like just for that, we are paying a cost of 153 kilobytes. And the reason is because, again, we do have a lot of third dependencies in our bundle. And how can you investigate that and what your bundle contain? Well, there is a great documentation already available on the SharePoint Dev Docs. You'll find an article about a Webpack Bundle Analyzer that will help you understand what's in your bundle. If we look at my project here, for my header, for example, my header is 1.5 megabyte before compression and so on and so forth. But a big part of that is actually a node module. 1.35 megabyte is a node module. So most of the weight of my bundle at the end of the day today is my modules and my dependencies, not my actual code. So how do you do that? Well, if you look at your SharePoint framework solution here, you will see that you have a config.json file available, and you have this entry, externals. So this is where you will tell the SharePoint framework, hey, don't include those dependencies in the bundle you're creating. Instead, at runtime, load those from the CDN. But that can be pretty tedious, you know, to scan for all the modules, all the dependencies, know if they are valid or not, how to include them properly. Hence the command we're introducing today. We have this new command called Office 365, because we're in the Office 365 CLI, SPFx Project Externalize, and then you can say, all right, I want a markdown report, and here's the file name I want to give it. You can run it. It will take a few seconds, and what that does automatically for you is it will scan all the dependencies you have in the package.json, see on unpackagey.com, which is one CDN that works well out there, if this is available. Test the dependency kind thanks to the Rancor API, the script check Rancor API, and then suggest to you the proper entry for the external configuration. So this is gonna run for, well, actually it's already finished. Let's look at the report here. And you'll see that you'll get automatically, if I get this out of the way and that out of the way as well, you get automatically that markdown report that tells you, all right, here is your external configuration that you should put. And additionally, if you need to make other changes, like for example, PNP.js v1, if you want to externalize the dependencies, you also need to add blind require statements here. So here is what we think you should do, and let's implement it. So of course, it's not going to be perfect. It's only going to do 85–90% of the job. You might need to do some adjustments. So here, to save time, I'll check out another branch. Admitting I verified that, I made small adjustments that were required. And if we look at our config.json, we can see that now under externals, we have all the configuration we need for all the different packages, right? So if now we do run the, and I hope this is going to execute fast. So if we do run our build and bundle and package solution, we'll see that we'll, of course, build and bundle and package our solution and also update our report. So let's give that some time to run. Hopefully it will complete fast. Doing a little dancing here on my end. All right. I'll move on and come back to that. When this is finished. So basically, what's going to happen? We will have our solution that's going to be much smaller with all those external dependencies outside of the package while it's doing that, and we will then be able to upload that new solution and that new package to our SharePoint tenant and deploy that new package. And what we will see effectively when this finishes is that our package is first much smaller, and second, that it pulls dependencies from unpackagey. Apparently, my computer decided to be slow today, probably because I'm sharing my screen with Teams, but this is what's supposed to happen. I don't know how much time I have left, Patrick. Maybe we can answer some questions if there are any at this point.
The question was that externalize.stats.html running against a bundle or live through a workbench?
It's It's actually runs after, during the bundle period. It's when you bundle your solution. This is when Webpack puts all the bits and pieces of JavaScript together, and that will generate a file for you. So you need to, in order to get that report, you need to run the command I'm just running, which is first build and then bundle, and this is how you'll get the new report. And I don't know if we went through that part already. It's almost done. So my report should be updated. So I'll open a new tab here. And we can see now that my header, for example, if we look at the header, is not 1.3 megs, it's only 285 kilobytes, right? So we almost divided by 6 the size of, well, for 5 the size of the package of this bundle for this extension, thanks to externalizing all these dependencies, right? So now, hopefully by now, the bundling part and the packaging part should be done, which is done. Perfect. Thank you for the great question. I don't know who asked that question. So if we look at that now, if we reveal this in the Explorer, and if we go back to SharePoint Online here, I can go to my catalog here, drop my solution. And what you'll see is it's in French, of course, because I forgot to change the language. But besides that, it will tell me, hey, do you want to replace that solution? Which I will say yes. And now it's saying, hey, you have dependencies coming from unpackagey.com. So you need to trust that, of course. So I'm going to deploy that. It's going to take a few seconds, hopefully, to deploy. And once we reload the page on that side, once this is done, let's hope this is done. All right, just refresh that. We'll see that here we should see network activity coming from unpackagey, for example. Yes, so you'll see that now I have, for example, Lodash, GSLib, and a few other things like PNP.js being loaded from our CDN instead. And if we look at our header, again, here, our header component, which is here. Now, instead of being 150K, it's only 36K. So the performances and the experience for the end users will be much better and much greater. And with that, before I finish, I'll just recap and then hand it over back to you, Patrick. So what this command does for you, first, it checks all the dependencies on the package.json. Then it ensures that we have a CDN version of that available somewhere on unpackagey. It tests the module automatically for you. Is it an AMD, UMD, ES6, global package, and so on and so forth. And thanks to the Rancor's API. So again, big thanks to Rancor. And it tries to obtain automatically the minified version because unpackagey might have multiple versions of the same library. So we are trying to make sure that we get the smallest version possible. Then it checks that that file actually exists on the CDN. We make sure that we're not suggesting you any dependency that, well, doesn't exist at the end of the day. And it generates the external entry configuration as well as the other file edit suggestions that we might have for you. Big thanks to Waldeck and Velin, who helped me through the pull requests and reviewing the code and making suggestions and so on and so forth. Without them, it would not have been possible. It's a great demonstration of the great community effort and community work. So again, big thanks to them. And with that, if you have any questions, feel free to ask any questions. Again, you can try the Office 365 CLI newer version by installing the CLI on your machine. Not here, sorry about that. I'll go back here. You can find that on pnp.github.io/office 365-CLI, and then you'll find the documentation on how to use the externalize command. And again, if you do have any feedback or any questions, feel free to open issues on the issue list on GitHub, which is taking a while to load on because I'm on a conference Wi-Fi. But yeah, feel free to add issues here. We'll try to help you and fix those issues. And with that, I'll hand it back to you, Patrick. I don't know if we have any questions, but thank you very much.
All right, great stuff. I think there might be a few questions for you in the IM window, and you can take them there.